I think it's critical that we see our enabling parent as a willing participant in the scheme of the narcissistic parent. At some point, we have to cut ties and save our energy. And that's not selfish, that's just smart. What's up, everybody? My name's Tanya, and today I'm talking about the enablers in our lives with our narcissistic parents. Knowledge is power, and really what it comes down to is if we go through the hard stuff now, then we can decide what we're going to let affect us later. We don't have to take everything on just because other people tell us what we should care about. I don't know how many of you feel that you have one of your parents as an enabler and another as a narcissist. I think a lot of times the enabling parent is seen sort of as a victim, maybe stuck. I've been thinking about this a lot lately when it comes to parents who are enabling perhaps their spouses to act poorly. People who are married to narcissists really don't consider enough how much it impacted their children that they stayed with that person for so long. For the enabling parents who seem to really understand the pain that the other parent is causing and also have no immediate threat of harm, it is confusing, I think, to see them stay. I guess what I'm wondering is, are the enablers actually almost more damaging to us than our narcissistic parents themselves? Our enabling parents are typically our safe parents. They're kind of the nice guy, maybe, or at least not, terrible all on their own. They think that they can manage that narcissistic parent, and they've set up a whole family system to help them do so. What I find fascinating, and this theory that I have, is that I think that in some cases, the enabling parent actually might have narcissistic tendencies themselves. The first one is that often enablers are the first to minimize the behavior of the narcissist or make excuses for them. Oh, we just need to be flexible, or so-and-so, or they didn't mean that. Hey, it doesn't get to me, let's not let it get to you too. But your experience with that parent is very different from theirs. We also have to remember that the enabling parent really helped to create and is continuing to run part of this narcissistic family system. They are a part of it. Many times we'll see enabling parents who are creating a system that keeps their lives a little bit easier, but it's at the expense of their children's comfort and safety. What really gets me is sometimes these enabling parents will actually then triangulate against the narcissistic parent, their spouse, with their children. So they're going to their children and saying, gosh, I know, isn't mom or dad just so difficult, to try to be the good guy, to be the nice guy, to not get blamed. And that might continue for a lifetime, where the enabling spouse almost feels abandoned by their children when they're left alone with their narcissistic spouse, and the children feel responsible for it. So the kids are almost protecting the enabling parent from their narcissistic spouse. So it's very interesting that they really put it on the rest of the family to deal with this very difficult spouse that they've chosen. They chose them. And what it does, unfortunately, is it creates a really confusing effect for us as kids, because we're seeing that one parent sees what's going on, is very upset or frustrated themselves with the situation, but either doesn't have or won't take the power to change things. That can be a really difficult thing to come to terms with at any age, because as much as the enablers might lament the situation or request, understanding, patience, flexibility, sympathy from others, how often do they actually then take that strength that's provided to them elsewhere and take that back to the narcissist and make a change, or stand their ground, or actually defend the people who are in their house suffering through this as well? And this is where that question of who was more damaging really starts to get to me, because I really question now, well, maybe the real damage was in thinking that one of our parents was safe while they asked us to bend over and make all sorts of accommodations for our narcissistic parent. And they really didn't protect us at all. How does that make them any better than a narcissist? I'm really curious. Truly, the person who has tried to comfort us through the storm of the narcissist had the power to end the storm, and they didn't. That is very telling to me, that they did not make that choice. Okay, so here's the real bottom line. A marriage was a choice in most cases between those two people. A dynamic takes two people. It can be really heavy to feel like you should be safe with this person, that this person sees what's going on, but they're not doing anything about it. The narcissist, we know, is sort of incapable. They don't have the self-awareness. They're not going to be able to put themselves in someone else's shoes. But when we look at the enabler, they should be able to do that. They seem to understand the dynamic that's taking place, and they seem to know that this person's behavior is unacceptable. Then why are we here? And at that point, do we not have the right to say, I am not responsible for you? For better or for worse, you married this person, you chose to stay with this person. I can't take responsibility for your choices. And if you won't make change for yourself, I can't own that either. And here's my true theory. People who are enabling a narcissist are getting something out of the deal. I don't believe there are many people out there who will continue to live a very uncomfortable life for themselves if they're not getting something out of the deal. Even if it's just a sense of stability and security, they might complain and moan about things and whine and want sympathy and, all sorts of comfort. They are making their own choices, and we as adults can make our choices. It's very much overdue that we take care of ourselves. It's very much overdue that we focus on our own mental health, our own well-being, our own future. I can choose how much I allow their input and opinions to influence me. I can choose how much time I spend with them. We're not out to hurt anybody, but we still have a right to protect ourselves. So if they aren't really looking at how we feel, how much do we really owe them in return? It just means that we don't have to save them. We don't have to rescue anybody from any situation. They were the adults. They made their own choices. If you're just finding the channel for the first time, welcome. I really appreciate people who have been subscribing and commenting on the videos. This is not easy stuff to talk about, and yet I feel a calling to do so. I think this is important stuff, and everybody needs to know that they're not alone, because so many of us grew up with narcissistic parents and are still working through what that really means for us. If you are looking for a way to draw a line in the sand, let's do it together. If you're here, you're healing. Thank you for being here. I'm Tanya. I'll be back.